Welcome to this episode of the Harpreet Singh Show. I'm a host Harpreet Singh from Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. In today's program, we're going to talk about an interesting project which has been initiated by two persons, Kerry Gibson and Sarah Pickering. They're the co-founders of a program called NEAT. And what is this program and how is it going to help the people? We'll talk in details with the Kerry Gibson and Sarah Pickering. So let's welcome both the guests and continue with our discussions with them. Kerry and Sarah, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us, Harpreet.
Thank you. Kerry, we know about you. You have your hands all over. You are with the United Nations. You are with lots of other projects whereby you talked about sustainable development and other things. So what is the origin of this project NEAT, which means Nutrition Through Engagement and Agricultural Technologies?
This was initiated through a group of like-minded people who came together at Simon Fraser University Dev Lab. And it gave us an opportunity to pitch ideas to each other as to how can we promote sustainable development goals in Canada. And this idea was actually based on an idea that it's not necessarily an original idea. In fact, my own father had implemented a very similar program in Indigenous communities in the 80s. That was quite successful. And so we took a look at systems change potential and how to address causation of food sovereignty in remote Indigenous communities. Mm-hmm. And there was a group of us who joined together that were funded through Simon Fraser connections in order to actually implement this within communities. There was a local connection through one of our funders. They were already working in Klemtu through the Great Bear Rainforest Stewardship Programming. And we were very fortunate to get together and start this right away with a great team. Sarah and I are only two of the co-founders. And, you know, we've been able to move forward implementing agricultural success in collaboration with these communities. These are true partnerships.
Mm-hmm. We're talking details about that. And Sarah, before I ask you in details about this program, if you could let our viewers know a little bit about yourself also, your interest in this project, what is your background?
So I have an interest in food sovereignty and environmental issues, and I was volunteering at the British Columbia Council for International Cooperation when they co-hosted this Dev Lab at Simon Fraser University, which is why I was able to attend, where I met Kerry and the rest of our team. And our project just snowballed from there. We were able to get funding right away, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about sustainability as such, where do we stand in Canada? What is the situation when we talk about sustainable development? So as far as Canada is concerned, can you tell us in details as to where do we stand?
Well, we're actually, unfortunately, quite behind. Mm-hmm. The UN SDG initiative began, many years ago, and we were actually about 5 years behind. So we have a very glossy, shiny surface. I don't want to be too disparaging toward Canada. We have many things going for us, as to safety nets. However, there are ways that we can focus our money in order to create sustainability and self-sufficiency within communities, rather than doling out to apply band-aids to things.
Mm-hmm. So, like you said, this is a serious matter all over the world. We are talking about sustainable development, but not much is being done. Of course, United Nations has set up targets, and there are a lot of conferences and lots of talks. Here you are involved with a lot of things. So, how serious is this issue, and why should the world take it seriously?
Well, in the area of food sovereignty, it is incredibly serious. We have such impoverished communities, not only in Canada, but of course globally, and people who are very vulnerable and unable to access nutritious food. That's a key thing, that it be not just food, processed food or whatnot, but actual nutritious food. Not only is it beneficial nutritionally to grow your own food and have local food be able to be accessed and nurtured within your own environment, it being higher nutritional content, it's also far more environmentally friendly.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. Environmentally friendly is the most important thing right now because the way things are happening all over the world, people are concerned. And especially in India also, there are millions of people who are not being able to have 2 meals a day. So this needs to be looked into and worked upon. So Sarah, could you give us some details as to what is this project NEAT and how are you helping the indigenous people and other people with this?
The objective of the NEAT project is for the communities who we partner with to be resilient in their food, water, and energy supply to a point where when we eventually walk away, they're able to sustain it no problem. So we engage with, when we engage with a community, we want them to be excited about the project. So it's important that they have ownership over that, over everything that we support them in doing. You're building trust, and so that they can tell you what they want, which is the first step to building ownership.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So specifically,
yeah, please go ahead.
Specifically, we're supporting them in those three aspects: food, water, and energy security,
right,
by building community gardens or greenhouses or whatever it is that the community tells us that they want.
Mm-hmm. It's time for a break. We'll go for a break. We'll be back and we'll continue with the discussion from here only as to how you are reaching out to the people and what kind of support is being provided. When you talk about food, water, and greenhouse technology, how is it, what is the process, how are you reaching out to people, and this project which has been initiated in some of the indigenous communities, where is it and what all is happening? Let's go for this break. We'll be back and learn more about this.
ਕੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਰੀ, ਡੈਲਟਾ, ਰਿਚਮੰਡ, ਐਬਸਫੋਰਡ ਜਾਂ ਵੈਂਕੂਵਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਵਾਂ ਘਰ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੋਚ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ? ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਤਜਰਬੇਕਾਰ ਬਿਲਡਰ, ਇੱਕ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟਿਵ ਇੰਟੀਰੀਅਰ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨਰ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਗਾਈਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਣ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੁਪਨੇ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਉਸਾਰ ਸਕਣ। ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਜਾਂ ਸੰਦੀਪ 6048259295 ਉੱਤੇ। ਭਾਰਤ ਪੈਸੇ ਭੇਜਣੇ ਹੋਣ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਮੰਗਵਾਉਣੇ ਹੋਣ ਤੇ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਫੋਰੈਕਸ ਨੂੰ ਤਸੱਲੀ ਬਖਸ਼ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਰੇਟ ਦੇਣ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਗਾਰੰਟੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 6043491313 ਉੱਤੇ।
ਘਰ ਇੱਕ ਐਸੀ ਥਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਹਰ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਣੀ ਨਿੱਜੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਸੁਨਹਿਰੀ ਪਲ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰਿਆ ਜੀਵਨ ਬਤੀਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਪੂਰੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਦ ਕਿਸੇ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਨੂੰ ਸਜੇ ਹੋਏ ਘਰ 'ਚ ਬਦਲਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ। ਨਵੇਂ ਘਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਰੇਮਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਫਿਨਿਸ਼ਿੰਗ ਤੱਕ, ਡ੍ਰੇਪਰੀ, ਪੇਂਟਿੰਗਸ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਡੈਕੋਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਅਸੈਸਰੀਜ਼ ਤੱਕ, ਤੁਸੀਂ SK ਹੋਮ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੁਪਨਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਹਕੀਕਤ 'ਚ ਬਦਲ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਕੰਟੈਕਟ ਕਰੋ ਸੰਦੀਪ ਕੌਰ 6048259295।
Karen thought she won a gift card, but we had a much bigger surprise for her. We rise by lifting others. Basant Motors.
ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ। ਅੱਜ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹਨ ਕੈਰੀ ਗਿਬਸਨ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਪਿਕਰਿੰਗ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਲਾਂਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਸ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਹੈ ਨੀਟ। ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਗ੍ਰੀਨ ਹਾਊਸ ਦਾ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਫੂਡ ਸੋਵਰੈਨਿਟੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਹੋਵੇ, ਆਮ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਖਾ ਪੀ ਸਕੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਬੜੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਇੱਕ ਸਮੱਸਿਆ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਬਾਰੇ ਆਓ ਵਿਸਥਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਪਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦੱਸ ਦਈਏ ਕਿ ਕੁਝ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਪਾਂਸਰਸ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਦੌਲਤ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਸ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਦੇ ਨੇ। ਨਵਾਂ ਘਰ ਬਣਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਸੋਚ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਟਾਈਲਸ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਲਵਾਈਆਂ ਜਾਣ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਦੌੜ ਖਤਮ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਅਮਨ ਟਾਈਲਸ ਕੋਲ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਈ। ਗ੍ਰੇਨਾਈਟ, ਮਾਰਬਲ, ਪੋਰਸਲਨ, ਸਿਰੈਮਿਕ ਟਾਈਲਸ, ਕਿਚਨ, ਬਾਥ, ਸਲੂਟਰ ਦੇ ਕਸਟਮ ਸ਼ਾਰ ਬੇਸ, ਫਾਇਰਪਲੇਸਿਸ, ਡੈਕਸ ਤੇ ਦੀਵਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਟਾਈਲਸ ਲਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਮਹਾਰਤ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹਨ। ਹਰ ਬਜਟ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ। ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਅਮਨ ਨੂੰ 7783163510 77831163510। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਨਵੀਂ ਤੇ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਦਿੱਖ ਦੇ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਐਕਮੀ ਗਲਾਸ ਲਿਮਟਿਡ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਫਰੇਮਲੈਸ ਗਲਾਸ ਰੇਲਿੰਗਸ, ਕਸਟਮ ਵੁੱਡ ਕਲੋਜ਼ਟਸ, ਸ਼ਾਵਰ ਤੇ ਟਬ ਡੋਰਸ, ਸ਼ਾਵਰ ਸਲਾਈਡਰਸ, ਬੇਵਲਡ ਵੁੱਡ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਟਲ ਟ੍ਰਿਮ ਮਿਰਰਸ ਤੇ ਕਸਟਮ ਗਲਾਸ ਵਰਕ ਦੀ ਮਹਾਰਤ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹਨ। ਵਾਜਬ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ, ਕੁਆਲਿਟੀ ਕਰਾਫਟਸਮੈਨਸ਼ਿਪ ਤੇ ਹਾਈ ਕੁਆਲਿਟੀ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਜਾਣੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਨ। ਆਪਣੇ ਨਵੇਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟਸ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਟ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਘਰ ਲਈ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 604 543 8777 604 543 8777। ਘਰ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਾਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਚਨ ਤੇ ਕਿਚਨ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੈਸਟ ਹੋਮ ਕਿਚਨ ਕੈਬਨਿਟਸ ਲੋਅਰ ਮੇਨਲੈਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਜਾਣੀ ਪਛਾਣੀ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਹਨ। ਕਸਟਮ ਹਾਈ ਐਂਡ ਘਰਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਮਲਟੀ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟਸ ਇਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਹਰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਕੈਬਨਿਟ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਬੈਸਟ ਹੋਮ ਕਿਚਨ ਕੈਬਨਿਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ। ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਸੁਰਜੀਤ ਤੇ ਸੀ ਨੂੰ 604 591 8171 604 591 8171। So once again, let's bring back our guests and continue with our discussion. So Kerry, you are a proponent of diversity. So speaking English in Punjabi also, I'm talking to my viewers. So that's a great combination whereby we reach out to the people and let them know what Canada stands for. Before the break, Sarah, you were talking to me about this project. So tell me in details as to how are you outreaching the public and what all kind of support is being provided to those who need information and who need to grow food.
So in terms of reaching out, we were lucky enough to have the first community that we worked with, as Kerry mentioned, that we piloted in. It's in Clem 2, British Columbia, which is a part of the Great Bear Rainforest. And so far we've been successful there. We collaborated with them to build a community garden, which just this year is getting an expansion of almost 50% more growing space of what they've had in the past 2 years. We helped them to reactivate the greenhouse that they had. And looking forward, we want to incorporate potentially hydroponic units or some way where we can grow food all year round. In addition to that, we build on traditional knowledge to increase food sovereignty. So one of the impacts of colonialism is that First Nations and Indigenous groups have lost the capacity to be self-sufficient. And in the case of Clem 2, they now rely on shipments of high sugar, packaged, long shelf life food types that traditional foods are now only a supplementary portion of their diet. So including traditional knowledge in building food sovereignty is very important.
Right. Food is becoming more and more scarce. So Kerry, how can these kind of projects help? Because you're providing planter boxes and then greenhouses are being built. So why is this need that we ought to have this at a much wider scale?
We definitely need to look at implementing this in all communities. And of course, we have been sending letters of invitation to different communities who might be ready for such a project, have sufficient water and energy sources in order to develop this. And we've been in some great discussions with different nations that have interest in being part of our 2021 expansion. Moving forward, SDG 17 is partnerships, which is very important. And we see sustainability being successful only when you bring together the benefits and resources and tools that academia, NGOs, government, and the private sector can offer to bring together. And so the NEAT project has many private sector supporters through in-kind donations. We have knowledgeable counterparts who contribute their knowledge. And also one part of the program that is beyond the tools, the actual materials to grow, is the knowledge and job skills, as well as the workshops we've developed for the children in the classrooms, so that we bring these families together to be truly invested in this project.
Right. So now that you have targeted this particular area, so how is it going on? Like your experts go over there, they teach the people how to make those greenhouse tents, and then over there planter boxes, and then how to grow food. So how long is this process?
It's ongoing, and so it's a learning curve for many who haven't experienced this before. And so it was wonderful this summer. We were able to employ 2 PhD students who developed some wonderful workshops and tools, gardening guides, and recipe books in order to not only know the basics of growing right from seeding to harvesting, but also how to cook what's growing, in these greenhouses and community garden beds.
Sarah, what all kind of food can be grown over here? Is just the vegetables, or some other things can also be grown over here?
So we're growing all sorts of things in Clem too: tomatoes, cabbages, pumpkins, squash, zucchini, lettuce, kale. So yeah, as Kerry mentioned, this is a new skill for some people in the community. So building the capacity to know not only how to grow the food, but how to cook it, what to do with it, how to harvest it. And moving forward, growing more traditional foods, maybe having blueberry bushes or things like that growing.
And Kerry, what kind of interest is being seen in the community? How is the younger generation also coming forward and learning these skills?
Absolutely. There is huge interest and investment, especially through the students that we engage with. It's very exciting to see things growing before your eyes that you're responsible for. And, so there's a pride of ownership there. And, and through those children, and volunteers in the garden, is very important for our program to have a local champion who's on the ground, invested, and teaching the locals through us the information that we share, and then passing that down, through the youth and getting those foods into family kitchens. Right. Children are much more likely to eat their vegetables when they've grown them.
Oh yes, absolutely. Their interest is there, and of course they would be a part to see this development. It's time for a break. We'll go for a break. We'll be back. And then what are your further goals? How are you trying to involve more communities? And what all resources are available, and how, as you said, the government, NGOs and private people are joining hands and coming forward in this cause. Every community wants to be food sovereign. They want to develop themselves, and not just the indigenous communities, but we also see that other people also want to have self-sufficiency in food. And apart from that, the most important thing is that when you grow on your own, while you are seeing the food grow in front of your eyes, especially the children get motivated, but also the chemicals which we use in food production, that also gets a setback. So we'll talk all about this after the short break. Please keep on watching the Harpreet Singh Show. We'll be shortly back.
As an entrepreneur, I value the freedom to run my business and to grow my company.
As a mother, I want Canada to be a country for my children's future where they can grow and have success.
The Conservative Party understands that. They understand the numbers and budgeting and all that, and that's the party that lines up with my values as an entrepreneur.
पापा, तुसी आज क्यों उदास हो?
बेटा, तेरे चाचा दी कोरोना वायरस करके डेथ हो गई है क्योंकि उसने मेरे कहने दे बावजूद भी टीका नहीं लगवाया।
चाचा जी ਤਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਲਿਖੇ, ਸਿਹਤਮੰਦ ਅਤੇ ਰੋਜ਼ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਨ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਟੀਕਾ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਗਵਾਇਆ?
ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਡਰ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਟੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਮਾੜੇ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਅਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਹਾਲਾਂਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਮਝਾਇਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸਭ ਅਫਵਾਹਾਂ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਟੀਕੇ ਵਿਗਿਆਨਿਕਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਡਾਕਟਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਅਤੇ ਖੋਜ ਦਾ ਨਤੀਜਾ ਹਨ।
ਪਾਪਾ, ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਮੈਂਬਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਟੀਕਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਲਗਵਾ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸਿੱਖ ਹੈਲਥ ਫਾਊਂਡੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਅਪੀਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਵੈਕਸੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਵਾਓ ਅਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਟੀਕਾ ਲਗਵਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੇਰਣਾ ਕਰੋ। ਆਓ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੈਲਥ ਫਾਊਂਡੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਇਸ ਮੁਹਿੰਮ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਬਣੀਏ।
ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਮੈਨ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਕੀ ਵਜ੍ਹਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ? ਸੁਖੀ ਬਾਟ ਮੋਟਰਸ ਦੇ ਓਨਰ ਸੁਖੀ ਬਾਟ ਨੂੰ ਵੇਖ ਕੇ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਸਮਝ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇੰਟੈਲੀਜੈਂਸ ਦਾ ਉਦਾਹਰਨ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਾਰ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਖ ਸੁਖੀ ਬਾਟ ਮੋਟਰਸ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ ਸਰੀ ਦਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਟਰੱਕ ਸੈਂਟਰ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲੋੜ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੋੜੀਂਦੇ ਟਰੱਕਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਗਾਈਡੈਂਸ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸਪੇਸ, ਮੋਡੀਫਿਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੇ ਫਿਊਲ ਐਫੀਸ਼ੀਐਂਸੀ ਸਭ ਨੂੰ ਧਿਆਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੁਖੀ ਬਾਟ ਟਰੱਕ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਟਰੱਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਟੌਰ।
ਕੁਦਰਤ ਦੇ ਸੌਮਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਆਯੁਰਵੇਦਾ ਰਾਹੀਂ 5000 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਬਣਾਏ ਗਏ ਹੈਲਥ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਪਰੂਵਡ 100% ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਆਯੁਰਵੈਦਿਕ ਡਾਇਟਰੀ ਸਪਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ ਦਾ ਲਾਭ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਸਟ੍ਰੈਸ, ਐਂਗਜ਼ਾਇਟੀ, ਇਨਸੋਮਨੀਆ, ਬਲੱਡ ਸ਼ੂਗਰ, ਕਿਡਨੀ, ਬਲੈਡਰ, ਹਾਜ਼ਮਾ, ਆਈਸਾਈਟ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਦਾ ਆਰਗੈਨਿਕ ਇਲਾਜ, ਜੋੜਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਦਰਦਾਂ ਤੇ ਸਰੀਰਕ ਮਸਾਜ ਲਈ ਕਈ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਆਯੁਰਵੈਦਿਕ ਤੇਲ ਵੀ ਉਪਲਬਧ ਹਨ। ਹੋਲਸੇਲ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਲਈ ਕਾਲ 604 628 2003।
Once again, welcome back to the program. My guests, Kerry Gibson and Sarah Pickering, are talking to us about the NEAT program and how food sustainability is an important aspect on which they are touching. And this project, which has been initiated with the help of Simon Fraser University, the idea is food sovereignty in the indigenous areas. We'll continue with the discussion, but before that, I would just like to inform about our sponsors. This program has been brought to you with the support of Surrey Jas O'Brien, who is an expert in real estate in Surrey, Cloverdale and Fraser Valley area. He works with Remax Blueprint Realty and he's known in the community for his integrity, commitment and results. So if you're wanting to sell or buy a commercial property or a residential property, you can call 778-994-7450 or email jasobrai.ca is his website, and joe@jasobrai.ca. You can go over there and email him. This program has been brought to you with the support of AMC Insurance. If you're looking for home, auto, travel, business, life or recreational insurance, you can call 604-507-6666. They have 9 branches all over Lower Mainland to serve you, and they're open 7 days a week from 8:30 a.m. till 9 p.m. 604-507-6666. ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਅਹੀਰ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਦੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਨਾਲ। ਇਹ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਅਤੇ ਸਟੋਰੇਜ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ 1993 ਤੋਂ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮੋਟੋ ਹੈ ਯਰ ਕਾਰਗੋ ਇਜ਼ ਆਰ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸਿਬਿਲਿਟੀ। So if you want to send your products anywhere in Canada, you can depend upon them. 8970 River Road, Delta is their office, and phone number is 604-940-9511. 604-940-9511 ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਨ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਈਮੇਲ ਕਰੋ shinda@ahir.com, and their website is ahir.com. Let's once again get back our guests and continue with our discussion. So Kerry, is this the first pilot project which has been initiated, and what are the further plans?
Yes, the pilot project was initiated in 2018, and we're looking to expand into other communities, other nations in 2021. Of course, there have been some holdups due to the pandemic, so we have been working remotely, however, very successfully remotely, thankfully, as we had already built the infrastructure within the community, and we're able to work from that. Hopefully in 2021, we can get back on the ground and move forward.
So, $4 million grant was given for this project, so for helping the indigenous communities. So is this just going to be focusing only on the indigenous communities only, or in future, like in 2021, once things are better, you'll further go over to other areas also?
As we can, develop this program, as we build our team, as we build our infrastructure and our funding, we will be able to access any community that might require our services. As it is, we are happy to work with any communities that reach out to us. Please contact me. I'm in charge of strategic partnerships for the NEAT project. And we welcome any input, especially from the agricultural community and anybody who might want to contribute to implementing this into all needing communities across Canada that might require support in any way for food security issues, as well as we're looking in a few years' time as we are able to implement this globally. This program was initially, my idea came from my younger sister adopting a child from an orphanage in Ethiopia where they are economically barren. This orphanage was in the middle of nowhere with no economic support, no support from local universities or anything like that. And so a project like this implemented in a community like that could essentially mean futures for these children in these orphanages, learning job skills, going to university, bringing those skills back to their communities. And, it's very cyclical.
Sarah, could you tell us about Clem 2 as such? This area is far off, and I have heard that it's just once a week through ferries they get their food produced. But now, because they're getting developed, and then they have their own greenhouses and they're having those boxes. So how has it changed their life? How is it helping them? You must have been there, of course. And so what kind of help is being given to them by this kind of project?
So the community garden coordinator in Clem 2 it does a great job of engaging people with coming into the garden. So people have been able to go there, grow their own food. It's as I mentioned, it's expanding. So we had 18 outdoor garden box last summer, and by the end of this coming spring of 2021, there will be over 30 garden boxes outside. So that will increase the amount of people who can be involved. Last summer, the garden boxes were, a portion of the garden boxes were rented out to community members, and they went very quickly. And so for next year, we're getting the school involved. The community school will take over a portion of the garden beds to get more students, and elders programs as well. So it's still growing, and there's still work to do, but it's definitely increasing people's access to nutritional and healthy foods that they're not necessarily getting from the shipment that comes once a week, as you mentioned.
And Kerry, when we talk about spray-free food, is this the kind of food that people are getting now over there? Because already we see that the food is so much sprayed that with fertilizers, insecticides, and other chemicals, that the nutrition value of that food gets depleted. So what is the condition when we grow these kind of food in these areas?
We are aiming to be 100% organic. It's very important. A lot of these areas have suffered the impact of having toxic soil. So growing crops is impossible. For instance, pipelines and things that might have run through there, have contaminated the soil. And Clem 2, for instance, went through a very expensive soil remediation process not too long ago, and even still that remediation has not extended to all of their land that could potentially have been used for growing crops, especially indigenous crops. So it's very important for us to keep it chemical free, and so part of the workshops that we're doing are about composting, zero waste, circular economy, vermiculture, and what kids don't like playing with worms, right?
Absolutely. And now that this has been a success, Kerry, are efforts being made to reach at the higher level, the government level, and get them also involved so that this can be spread at a much faster pace and at a much wider pace?
That is definitely one of our goals, to be working with government in order to implement this more widely. Unfortunately, all these projects come down to is funding. And the great thing about this project is with very small initial funding, we can get a project up and running off the ground that can continue on without us, without additional funding sources, once we're gone. We want to make ourselves redundant. But the important thing is to create that sustainability in the beginning and addressing that causation and all the impacts that, everything from energy expansion right through education. It's not just about plopping a greenhouse on the ground and saying, get to it, because that's not a sustainable model.
Right. Sarah, towards the end, would you like to add on to something what we have discussed, anything which we have missed?
You can check out our Facebook page. Neat in Clem 2 is our Facebook, and our Instagram is NeatSFU. So if people want to find out more information, they can always reach out to us that way. We also have a website on the SFU Pacific Water Research Center page, so they can research that. And yeah.
Okay. And Kerry, you always talk about strategic alliances, and you, as you said, for this project also. So if anybody wants to be a part of this movement, growing movement, where can they contact you?
Well, they can contact us through Facebook or Instagram, or contact me directly at my email address, kgibson@ecocentury.ca.
And what would you like to say towards the end?
I'm thankful that you are giving us this opportunity
You're
to reach
welcome.
out to your viewers. It is, and I hope that there might be some viewers that might be interested in getting involved because it takes, it takes a village, so to speak, to build on projects like this. We would be happy to pass on the model if other communities are, interested in replicating in order to provide local food source for themselves.
Great. It was a pleasure talking to both of you. Thank you very much for your time, and we hope this information is helpful to a lot of people and they can take advantage of the research that is being done at Clem2 and take it further to their own areas. Thank you very much and best wishes.
Thank you, Harpreet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਨ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਕੈਰੀ ਗਿਬਸਨ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਪਿਕਰਿੰਗ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਨੀਟ ਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਜਿਸਦਾ ਹੈ ਫੁੱਲ ਫਾਰਮ ਨਿਊਟ੍ਰੀਸ਼ਨ ਥਰੂ ਇੰਗੇਜਮੈਂਟ ਐਂਡ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਟੈਕਨੋਲੋਜੀਜ਼। Clem2 ਇੱਕ BC ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਫਾਰ ਆਫ ਰਿਮੋਟ ਏਰੀਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਆਈਡੀਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਸੈਲਫ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏ, ਸੈਲਫ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟ ਹੋਵੇ, ਸਸਟੇਨੇਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਹੋਵੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਗ੍ਰੀਨ ਹਾਊਸ ਦੇ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਖਾਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਗਾ ਸਕੋ, ਜਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਕਿ ਈਜ਼ੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੇ ਕੈਮੀਕਲ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਇਹ ਖਾਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਫਰਦਰ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਹੋ ਸਕੇ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਪਾਇਲਟ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਫਰਦਰ ਐਕਸਪੈਂਡ ਹੋਣਗੇ। ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਫੇਸਬੁੱਕ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਨੀਟ N-EAT ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ। ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਾਥ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਮੰਡੇ ਟੂ ਫਰਾਈਡੇ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਦੇ 7 ਵਜੇ ਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਸਟੈਂਡਰਡ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਿਕ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਮਦਦ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮਸ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਾਈਂਡਲੀ youtube.com/ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋ ਦੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਚੈਨਲ ਨੂੰ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰੋ ਜਾਂ ਫੇਸਬੁੱਕ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਦਾ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋ। ਅਤੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦਾ ਮਕਸਦ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਐਜੂਕੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ, ਇੰਸਪਾਇਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੰਪਾਵਰ ਹੋ ਸਕੋ। ਅਤੇ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਬਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੋ, ਕੋਈ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੋ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ, ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ 6046037555 ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਈਮੇਲ ਜ਼ਰੀਏ harpreetsingh@gmail.com। ਇੱਥੇ ਲੈਣਾ ਆ ਗਿਆ, ਫਿਰ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਹੈਵ ਅ ਸੇਫ ਈਵਨਿੰਗ ਐਂਡ ਇੰਜੋਏ yourself। ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਨਵੇਂ ਤੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਅਪਲਾਈਐਂਸਸ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ ਸਟੋਵ, ਅਵਨ, ਫ੍ਰਿਜ, ਵਾਸ਼ਰ ਡਰਾਇਰ, ਮਾਈਕ੍ਰੋਵੇਵ, ਫ੍ਰੀਜ਼ਰਸ ਜਾਂ ਡਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ਼ਰ, ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਪਹੁੰਚੋ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਮ ਅਪਲਾਈਐਂਸਸ ਤੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ 3 ਬ੍ਰਾਂਚਸ ਸਰੀ, ਐਬਟਸਫੋਰਡ ਤੇ ਚਿਲਵੈਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਨ। ਇੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵਾਜਬ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਅਪਲਾਈਐਂਸਸ ਮਿਲਣਗੇ। ਇਹ ਡਿਲੀਵਰੀ ਤੇ ਇੰਸਟਾਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਪੈਕੇजेस ਫॉर ਬਿਲਡਰਸ ਐਂਡ ਹੋਮ ਓਨਰਸ। ਕਾਲ 6045904140 6045904140। ਆਰਾਮ ਐਲੋਪੈਥਿਕ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਖਾਣ ਨਾਲ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਸਾਈਡ ਇਫੈਕਟਸ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਨੈਚੁਰਲ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਸਪਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਦਰਦ ਨੂੰ ਜੜੋਂ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਰਕਸ ਫਾਰਮੇਸੀ ਦੇ ਹਿੰਦੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਟਾਫ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟਸ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਹਰ ਹਿੱਸੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਭੇਜਦੇ ਹਨ। ਅਪਾਇੰਟਮੈਂਟ ਬੁੱਕ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 6045961774 ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰੋ 8035 120 ਸਟਰੀਟ ਡੈਲਟਾ। ਦਰਦ ਨੂੰ ਜੜੋਂ ਖਤਮ ਕਰੋ। ਵੈਨਕਾਸਾ ਟਾਈਲ ਅਤੇ ਸਟੋਨ ਸ਼ੋਰੂਮ ਇੱਕ ਐਸੀ ਥਾਂ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੋਲਸੇਲ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਟਾਈਲਸ, ਸਟੋਨ, ਮਾਰਬਲ, ਬੈਕਸਪਲੈਸ਼, ਮੋਜ਼ੇਕ ਆਦਿ ਵਾਜਬ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਟਾਲੀਅਨ, ਸਪੈਨਿਸ਼, ਚਾਈਨੀਜ਼, ਪੋਰਸਲਨ ਜਾਂ ਸਿਰੈਮਿਕ ਟਾਈਲਸ ਜਾਂ ਮਾਰਬਲ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਆਰਡਰ ਤੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਲੀਅਰੈਂਸ ਤੇ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਮਾਲਕ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਟਾਈਲਸ ਇੰਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੁਆਲਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਸ਼ਿੰਗਾਰ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰੋ 130428 ਐਵਨਿਊ ਸਰੀ। ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਹਿੰਦੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 604330 7363 604330 7363।